Hi boys and girls, I'm P.J. HarteNaus. I'm an educator and the author of the Belden Boy Series. It's an anti-bullying series that took place in the 1890s. Well, your teacher told me that she's having you read the first book in the series, The Adventures of Peter McDougal. I want you to know that the setting for this series is in the Belden School. This school is made of limestone, which was one of the resources in the area that they would use. The land was a 1 square acre that was given to them by a local farmer. And it was right here that a lot happened. Lots of adventures. And how do we know? Well, we found an old journal in the garbage from 1871 and another one from 1923. And I also got to talk to the elderly people that used to go to school to Belden School before it closed down to consolidation in 1943. I got their stories, and that's called oral history. So come on with me, and I'm going to give you a little bit of information about Belden School. So school days were different in the old days than they are now, and what you're used to. Children would come to school from about 8 o'clock in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon, and that was after they did all their chores in the morning of feeding the animals, cleaning out stalls, doing whatever they needed to do throughout the whole day. And then at 4 o'clock they'd go home and they'd do it all over again, including getting the dinner ready, pulling vegetables, working in the summer kitchen, whatever they had to do. It was a long day for a child, not to mention their homework. What was really interesting is that the teacher quite often would go from farm family to farm family of the children that lived in this or went to school in Belden School, and they would stay at their house. Can you imagine having your teacher stay with you overnight for 2 weeks straight, and then they would rotate? Now, children in the old days did not have a washroom like you do nowadays, where you'd walk out to your classroom door and you'd go down the hall to a series of washroom stalls. This is where they went. There was an outhouse or a privy. Sometimes there was one for the boys, and sometimes there was one for the girls, so they'd have two. Right now we just have one as a demonstration, but that would have been an outhouse or a privy. So no matter what the weather, rain or shine, cold or not, that is where you went. The inside of Belden School is closed right now, so we're going to show you through the window what you would have seen back in the day. Nowadays, you have many schoolrooms in your building, don't you? But in those days, back in the 1800s, you had one teacher who taught all the children of all ages. You had your brothers and sisters in the one-room schoolhouse, too. Your age group, especially the younger, kindergarten and first grade, would sit on the long wooden bench in the front of the room. Sometimes the older children would help you out with your lessons. When asked, you would come up to the teacher at her desk and you'd recite from your primer. There were spelling bees and handwriting, arithmetic and reading, and of course elocution, which today we call tongue twisters. For example, the skunk thunk, the stump stunk, and the stump thunk, the skunk stunk. Or Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. How many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? The older children in school had a very special job to do. They had to get here a little bit earlier in the morning, and they would have to take a big crockery and go down to the spring where the water was running fresh every morning. And if it was icy, snowy out, they would have to crack the ice and get the water into the container. So they would bring it back up here, and they would go ahead and bring it into Belden School, and they would use the dipper and drink from that, the same dipper for everyone. And then at the end of the day, what water was left, they cleaned the boards with or wiped the floors down. Now they had to do the same thing with wood. They had to bring the cut wood that was stacked outside the school and bring it into the stove. And they had to do that every single morning. And that stove was stacked there by maybe some of the parents, some of the fathers that would gather the wood in the fall. So when you were a child coming to school in winter, you would try really hard to sit right by that huge stove they would have, because that's what kept you warm versus sitting over by the cold windows. And if you had a hot potato or you want some sausage and dumplings to stay warm in your little container for lunch, which is unlike the lunch bag that we have nowadays, they would set it on the stove and it would stay warm. That's what it was like in those days. A a lot different than what you have today. This is where the children would play. They would go down by the creek and they would play in the water, hopefully not getting too wet because that would be very uncomfortable sitting the whole afternoon when wet clothes. But if there was a tree that was over the creek, how fun that would have been. And then they also played over here in this playground, full of dirt, but it's nice and wide. They'd play marbles with their marbles. They'd play stickball. But notice there are no plastic swings like you have nowadays or slides. Whole different world. You see all those woods up there? That was never here. This was open prairie. How much fun is that? Children in the old days, they used to either walk to school, and if it was snowing out, they'd take a sleigh to school, if they were lucky. But sometimes they would ride their horses to school, and this is where they would tie their horse. Now the horse would stand here all day long waiting for you, the child, to finish your day at school, that long day. Sometimes though, the horse would pull away with the reins and come looking for you. They could walk up and around the school, looking in the windows here and there, just like the stories inside the Belden Boy Series. So there's another thing that they would do. If the snow was really high and it was a very cold winter, they would often walk to school, going over the fields, through where the cows might be or the horses, and just literally walk right on top of the snow, right over the rails. Now, if it was summer, what had happened, the children were instructed to wear high boots, had to wear high boots. Do you know why? Because rattlesnakes might be out. They might bite you, and you didn't want that. Sure was a lot different then than it is now. So boys and girls, when you read The Adventures of Peter McDougal, it is a small introduction, there's no doubt about that, and your teachers will read it for you. But it's nice because it introduces you to Peter McDougal and his bully friend, Frankie. And there's a little bit of conflict in there, but it's nice to read it because you learn how Peter McDougal, the victim in the situation, really deals with bullying and how he turns it around. And he definitely seeks the advice of his teacher, Miss Bishop. Now, what's nice about this book, too, is it's not only the introduction, but of fiction, which remember, fiction is a pretend story, but also nonfiction because it has real photographs of what Belden looked like back in the day, and including those journal pages that we found in the garbage, right there, the beautiful cursive. So, first two books are from the victim's perspective, which is Peter McDougal. The third book is from Frankie's perspective. He's the bully, and he doesn't understand why everybody calls him a bully. The fourth book that just came out is from the little girl's perspective, Annie. And she has a disability, but that doesn't keep her down, and she continues on, and she helps to pull the whole community in the school together. So I hope you enjoy it. And maybe someday soon, when you get to be third grade on up, you can come and visit me at Belden School because we have a summer camp in this school every summer. So see you soon. Let me know how you like it. Send me in a letter. Bye-bye.